Is farming actually worth it in 7 days to die? Well, before we answer that, we need to do some testing. So if you want to farm, you're gonna need farm plots. Farm plots are where you grow your crops, and you can craft them for 4 wood, 10 rotten flesh, 25 nitrate powder, and 100 clay. This is a total scam. I cannot recommend crafting them at this cost, but if you're extra dedicated, you can actually find POIs which have working farm plots that you can plant on, but you can't pick those up, but they do actually work. I don't know all the POIs that they spawn in, but I'd be interested in hearing about more of them in the comments if you know any. But if you're dead set on crafting them, you should get the Living Off the Land perk. And spoiler alert, you're gonna need that before you farm very efficiently anyway. Living Off the Land is a 3 rank fortitude perk which maxes out at 5 fortitude. Rank 2 will give you a 50% discount on your farm plots. Now, when you've got your farm plots and you've placed them down, it's time to start planting, but for that you'll need seeds. Seeds are most commonly found by crafting them out of the plant in question. It takes 5 pieces of corn, for example, to make a corn seed, which I do not think is the correct ratio, fun pimps, but once you have a seed, you can right click it into the farm plot to start growing. Now what? Well, we wait. Most crops in Alpha 28 take a couple of real-time hours to grow, and once they are grown, you'll see the final stage of the crop. You can punch them to get the actual crops back. As a little tip for large-scale crop harvesting, you can in fact use a chainsaw. The only caveat is that it only works on crops that are 2 or more blocks tall. Corn is 3, potatoes are 2, other crops like coffee are only 1 block tall, so it doesn't work with the chainsaw. No idea why, that's just how it is. Now, when you harvest without the Living Off the Land perk, you'll get 2 crops. Wait. Rebuilt, didn't you say that you need 5 crops to make 1 seed? Yes. And 1 crop gives you 2 crops? Yes. So I'd need to break 3 plants to replant 1 plant? Yes. That was a lot of plants. What the fuck? Well, there is another thing. You also get a 50% chance to get your seed back. Yes, believe it or not, that is a 50% chance. I know you don't believe me, but it is in the game files and you can check for yourself. Now when you first take Living Off the Land, you get 4 crops from each plant with no effect on seed drops, which is better but not optimal. For rank 2, you'll get a 50% chance for an additional crop, so let's just say for the sake of basic testing later, every crop with rank 2 will give you 4.5 items. It's not guaranteed, but if you did a lot of tests, you would find that that is correct. Again, refer to the game files if you disagree. And then at rank 3, you'll get at least 6 crops and have a 50% chance to get that 1 extra, so let's just say 6.5. Alright, farming done, time to get analysing. So if you break 100 crops with no Living Off the Land, you'll get 200 items. With rank 1, you'll get 400, with rank 2, you'll get at least 400, but on average you'll get 450, and with rank 3, you'll get at least 600, but on average you'll get 650. So here you can see the scale of that and how useful each rank is. This is not the important question. Farming's biggest issue comes from seeds. It takes 5 crops to make 1 seed, so if we take a look at this with no Living Off the Land, you'll get 50 seeds back from 100 plants on average, but you'll only have enough crops left over to make 40 seeds, meaning that without Living Off the Land, on average, 100 plants will actually only get you 90 seeds back, which will leave you with an average of minus 50 items from 100 plants, because you would actually need 50 more pieces of corn, for example, to reach 100 plants again. It can be better as the seed drop is chance-based, but it does have an equal chance to be even worse, so for that reason, we're just using 50% to keep it simple. Moving up to Living Off the Land 1 will get 50 seeds and 400 crops, which is enough to craft the other 50 seeds we need to do a full replant with 250 crops, and then you'd have 150 usable crops left, or 1.5 per plant to use on expanding your farm or for cooking. Moving up to rank 2, we get a 50% chance for that additional crop. Again, for the sake of our sanity, let's just assume that if you did 1,000,000 tests, you'd eventually get it so that it would be precisely 50% of the time, because that is what it's coded to do, even if the results may vary tremendously on much smaller scales. With Living Off the Land 2, you'll get an average of 450. This leaves you with an extra 50 crops to use, upping your average profit from 1.5 to 2 per plant. Rank 3, your minimum yield will be 600 crops, which leaves you with 350 additional crops after reseeding, assuming a perfect 50% drop rate on the seeds. On average, it would actually be 650 crops, leaving you with a spare 400 or 4 per plant to expand with or use. So here's the final visual of all of those things. So we can conclude that straight up without question, farming without any living off the land is just a waste unless you're just planting the seeds you find out looting. You're going to be wasting all of your crops if you want to replant. So without living off the land, one, farming is unsustainable without incredible luck on your seed drops. Living off the land, we see a small profit which would allow us to more comfortably sustain your farm. You wouldn't have much left over to cook or craft with. Rank 2 honestly does very little else to help that. Rank 3 is much more reasonable, giving you a larger buffer of spare crops to work with, and you can actually rapidly expand your farm using this rank. Now, I have a question for you. Do you think any of these perk ranks are actually worth it? I'm not sure, because I think we actually need to look at the benefits of farming. In 7 Days to Die Alpha 20, you can grow corn, aloe, blueberries, chrysanthemum, coffee, cotton, goldenrod, hops, mushrooms, potatoes, pumpkins, supercorn, and yucca. That was one take, by the way. Let's scratch some of these off the list, shall we? Cotton, goldenrod, yucca, and aloe are all kind of useless to farm. These plants are all in huge quantities out in the wild, and honestly, if you want to just grab living off the land 3 and not bother with the actual farming time, then you'll get 3 to 4 of these when you break them wild. So do you really need to farm them? You're probably really not going to exhaust the wild supplies of these things in single player. There's almost no advantage to growing these, you're really just using farm plots for your convenience to save you that 2 to 5 minute motorcycle journey. Chrysanthemum largely falls under this as well. It's very common in the wild in the forest biome, but you could hypothetically need a huge amount of it if you have a massive building project and want to make a huge amount of paint. That's pretty niche. So 5 of the 13 plants are, at least in my opinion, completely not worth farming due to the wild populations being so high. Coffee, blueberries, hops, pumpkins, and supercorn fall under another category of being pretty much unnecessary. Coffee is extremely common in loot, so it's really not needed. Blueberries are used in 4 recipes, most of which are completely unneeded. Grandpa's moonshine would be decent, but it requires 4 farmable items to craft, along with a bottle of acid. Not worth crafting it in any large quantities, I would just buy some for emergencies. Yucca juice smoothies are good, but just buy them from vending machines for like 100 jukes. They're not that needed for your general gameplay. Hops are used exclusively in beer, which is used in many medical items, and pumpkin cheesecake. But again, beer is extremely common in loot, very easily purchasable. Along with that, most of the items you use to craft with it are common quest rewards in loot. I wouldn't bother growing hops unless I'm doing a brawling build and I really want to have a huge amount of beer just for the brawling boost. Pumpkins are also pretty useless, all things considered. Pumpkin bread and pie are underwhelming for their crafting costs. The only thing notable about the cheesecake is the 5% discount while trading, which is absolutely not worth the trouble of farming or wasting eggs and beer on. Supercorn is a bit more valuable than all of these, being used for glue, but bones aren't rare. And 3 Grandpa's drinks also use it, but the moonshine and learning elixir take acid, which is just not happening. I'll just buy them if I need them. An awesome sauce takes 5 honey to craft, which is just such a waste of time to gather. I'm not even going to entertain this, especially since by the time you have the setup to make this drink, you will never need a 20% discount at the trader. So that's another 5 crops down. In my opinion, 10 out of the 13 crops so far are completely useless. This leaves us with 3 more. Corn, mushrooms, and potatoes. Corn is used in corn on the cob, a pointless food item to be honest, along with cornmeal and cornbread. It's also used in some insanely powerful food items which are incredibly efficient as they give a huge amount more food than their regular ingredients alone would, like shepherd's pie or tuna fish gravy toast. Cornmeal is also used in a lot of other decent food items and even plaster casts. Potatoes find themselves in most of the same dishes as corn, but they also have the steak and potato meal, which is a decent food item. Mushrooms appear in several items I've already bullied, but they also appear in veggie stew, steak and potato meals, and the most powerful food item in the game, aside from if you count sham chowder because that does give a temporary fortitude buff, spaghetti, which gives the highest food and health out of all of them. Oddly enough, despite being the most efficient food item in the game, spaghetti is one of the easiest to craft, taking only 1 farmed item, mushrooms, and a bunch of looted items. And mushrooms are really unique in that you don't actually need farm plots to grow them, so if you're gonna farm anything for food, you can pretty much just do mushrooms and absolutely hoard beef rations and pasta, and you can make the best food item in the game. I don't think you really need to farm corn or potatoes either. All of their best food items are reliant on loot-only food items like tuna and peas, so you're going to have a relatively low quantity of them anyway. But the second best food item in the game, gumbo stew, doesn't even need any farmable items. You can just hoard peas, stock, and beef, and never actually have to farm to make the second strongest cooked item in the game. And honestly, it's only 10 food behind spaghetti. So to end all of that, in my view, 13 out of 13 crops are just unneeded. Meat is a much easier source of food and provides perfectly fine early to mid-game food, and the second best food item in the game doesn't even use any of these farmed items anyway. And the best one just relies on mushrooms, which don't actually need farm plots, so you can definitely justify just growing those. The only reason I can see you needing farmed food items is in multiplayer or on low loot abundance, and even then, if you don't care about immersion, you can use time travel. What you want to do is just basically double loot the farms of the game. You want to take a tier 1 or tier 2, maybe tier 3 job, it takes you to a farm, clear out all the crops out front, and then reset the quest. Clear out all the crops, leave the game, come back in, start the quest again, clear the crops, leave the game, going back, reset it, clear the crops, reset, clear, repeat until you have all the crops you need. Potatoes, corn, and even less commonly goldenrod, chrysanthemum, blueberries, and coffee all grow in POIs. So it's just a matter of getting the trader to send you to it, which is not hard, especially if you're in single player, because again, you can leave the game, come back, and the jobs will be reset. No need to farm at all. For most of us, it's not going to be a needed feature whatsoever, and it honestly has no practical value outside of huge multiplayer servers. You can live off of grilled meat for a long time and build up a stock of looted canned foods for the late game and cook gumbo stew to last ages. None of the better items you can farm are actually worth the time and effort it took to make them, because looting, buying, and questing for them are all much easier. And even if you do want to make those high level food items, it's more time efficient to use my time travel method, leaving the game to reset the quests. So with that in mind, I bet you want to know how to do this completely useless activity underground. Check this video here. Thank you to my channel members and patrons for making this video possible, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.